Hello and welcome back for the next section, which is the eyes. Right, so for this one we are going to need a small amount of black, a small amount of your colour choice for the eyes, and a small amount of pure white. Now these are all a DK weight, and because we're now working in a DK weight, we're going to drop our hook size down to a 3.5. Right, so let's get started. If you grab your black, now mine's a little bit thin so I've had to double mine up, but we are going to create a slip knot and chain 11. Once you've completed that, and then in our second chain from the hook we are going to place our first single crochet. Now we're going to do another 9 after that, so we should have 10 double crochets running down the bottom. Right, so once you have got your total of 9 single crochets running along here, in our very last chain we are going to place 3. Okay, now this is going to help us turn the corner. So that's 3 single crochets in there. Alright, and now we are going to run 9 single crochets down along this second part of the chain. Okay, I like to work over my black. I'm sorry I can't get this much closer to the camera or in major focus for you, but if you're struggling to see what I'm doing, go back to either the foot or the muzzle and sort of follow the steps there for working in the chain. Just remember your starting chain count. Once you have done that, meet me back here. Right, we made it down to the last stitch. Now what you want to do here is half make your stitch, and on your last pull through add on the colour that you wish to use in the eye. Now once that's done, chain 1 and turn. Now into that very first stitch we are going to do a single crochet and then a single crochet all the way up the side. Oh. For a count of 8. On the 9th you will put in a single crochet increase, followed by a single crochet in the next one, in your next stitch it will be an increase, so that's a single crochet increase, followed by a single crochet, and then in the next one a single crochet increase. Okay, so it will look like that, and then work all the way down to your last stitch at the bottom. Okay, so in your last stitch you're going to chain 1 and turn, and now we are going to go back up the side again on the single crochets, Okay, 8 for a count of 9. On your 10th we want a double crochet increase, a single crochet increase, followed by a single crochet over the next 2, then an increase, single crochet over the next 2, followed by an increase, then another 2, and then all the way down to the bottom again. When you've reached the bottom, chain 1 and turn, and we're going to do one more round of the blue or your chosen colour. So it's a single crochet all the way up for a count of 9, then place in a increase. Now we're going to do 3 single crochets, now an increase, followed by 3 single crochets, and our final increase for this round, and then work your way all the way back down the bottom again. When you get to your last stitch we will be changing to white, so don't pull that last stitch all the way through. Right, so on your last stitch, remember, pull that white through with the last pull through on that stitch. Okay, so now we're going to chain up 1. I'm going to turn our work, and now into your first stitch, of course, place a single and work a single crochet up for a count of 9. Now into the next stitch, place an increase, and then we're going to do a 4 single crochet over the next 4 stitches, followed by an increase and another 4 single crochets, and now an increase, and then a single crochet all the way down to the bottom. 3, 4, 5, for a count of 10. Right, when you get to the bottom here, we are going to chain 1 and we're going to turn our work again. Right, so now we're going to be a little bit sneaky on this one because we want to build some height but not the width. So we are going to single crochet for the first 9 stitches. Six, 7, 9. Okay, so we are going to try and bring the height up a bit but not the width on this round. So what we're going to do is into our next stitch we are going to place a half double crochet increase, and then for this top section we are running it in half double crochets. So now we need 5 half double crochets. Oh. In the next one it is a half a double crochet increase, followed by a 5 half double crochets, followed by a half double crochet increase, and in our next stitch we're going back down to single crochet. So it's a single crochet in the next one and all the way down to the bottom. Here's a chain 1 and turn your work. Now with this row we are going to do single crochet along, but we want to make this edge appear more rounded and a little bit longer than the side sections. So as I said, we're going to do single crochet all the way along here for a count of 10. Into your 11th stitch we are going to do a double crochet increase, and then for the next 14 stitches you're going to do them in half double crochet. So that's 14 half double crochet. And then once you have done that last half double, we will be placing 2 single crochets in the next stitch, and then 1 single crochet in the next 10. Now chain 1 and turn your work. Right, now we are going. Right, so and this is where it's a good idea to stop and sew in these ends, because our next row we are going to come down here, down this section here, and go all the way round. So I'll meet you back here in a few minutes once you've sewn your ends in. And now you've sewn your ends in, we're ready to do the last row. Now the last row we're going to work up and then across. I tried it the other way around, but it just didn't look neat to me. Now your work will be looking like this at the moment. Sorry, I was showing you the opposite side. Yeah, so your work will be looking like this at the moment. So let's move on and get on with the next row. So for this one, chain up 1, and then we are going to slip stitch all the way around. And it is that simple. So once you get to this side, meet back with me, and I will show you how to do the bottom section. Okay, so you've made it back to the bottom, you've slip stitched in that last stitch, and now what I need you to do is a chain up 1, and then into the same place add a single crochet. Now we're going to place a single crochet in each of the ends of the stitches, okay, for a count of 15. So that was number 1. So that's 3 across the white section, 3 across the blue, 3 across the black, 3 across the blue, then of course 3 into the white. Now what we're going to do is place our hook underneath your first slip stitch and pull your yarn through and finish off with a knot. Now pull up plenty of yarn for sewing in, and that's it. Your eye is complete, unless of course you want to be cheeky like me and add a little fake bit of light in there, and that's just a case of working out where you want it and weaving it in. Right, so remember, you need to make 2. Once you've done them, meet me back here and I will show you the next step. Right, so grab your darning needle. I've grabbed a bit of Aran. I think it's the beige. Oh dear. Oh well, close enough. Right, now what you want to do is to work out the placement for your little splash of light. If it's the same as me, I am going through the same area as the 3 single crochets that were at the top of the chain. You should be able to feel a little hole just underneath. Okay, so you want to place your darning needle through, and then I am placing it, as you can see, in the spike just here, just to the side. So that's the top of the first increase, I think. Right, so that's the top, not the top, sorry. Right, so if you look at it now, you've got all your zigzags going up, and then you've got these little 3 at the top. So there's your top one. So I am placing mine on the one to the right hand side. Okay, and then I have literally just gone through the same area 3 times, so that it shows up quite nicely, and then flick it over. And yeah, I know I tied it in a knot, I'm a nightmare for them, but as it's being sewn onto the front of it, you're not going to see the knot, so I don't have an issue with it myself, as it's for me. But I'm sure that if you're making it for a little one, you will be a lot better at hiding your knots and making it look all neat and tidy. But anyway, there it is, and there are the eyes. Now let's move on to the next item. Right, so and now it's time to make the teeth. First of all, we make ourselves a slip knot, pop it on our hook, and we're going to chain up 8. Now the first section of this is quite nice and easy. What we're going to do is, in the second chain from the hook, we're going to place a single crochet, and we're going to single crochet all the way along for a count of 7. Okay, so that's row 1 complete. Now we're going to chain 1 and turn our work, and then we're going to run it another row of single crochet all the way along for a count of 7. Now we're going to chain 1 again and turn our work, and again run a row of single crochet along for the count of 7. Now we are going to do 13 rows in total, so remember that is a chain 1, turn, and then 7 stitches across, and that is 13 rows. Okay, so I'm going to leave you here to do your 13 rows. Once you finish those, come back to me. Do not cut your yarn. See you in a bit. Okay, so you're back with me. You've done your 13 rows of single crochet, and it should look something like this. Okay, so what we are now going to do is work on our edge, top and bottom, because it is going to sit this way on the rabbit. So chain 1, and into the same place as the previous stitch we are going to place a stitch, then we are going to run a single crochet along the outside of our work. Okay, so that's 1 for each row until you get to the other side. Okay, and your last one goes in where the chain was. As a single crochet 1, chain 1, and a single crochet back into the same spot. Now working over your tail, you may as well, we're going to single crochet all the way down the side again. Then when you get to the bottom, I'm going to chain 1, single crochet into the first. Now we're going to half double crochet into the second and the third, and then the fourth, into the fifth. We're just going to place a single crochet into the next stitch. It is a slip stitch. Then the next one is a single crochet followed by 5 half double crochets, and then where that first stitch is, we will do a single. Then it's a case of slip stitch, pull up your yarn and give yourself enough for sewing in. When you come to attach this section to your rabbit, and this bit points towards the feet because it is the bottom of the teeth, I've given it a little bit of a rounded teeth, and then this bit here just squidges up under the muzzle. Now pop this to one side because you will be sewing this section on with black thread to give it some definition, okay, and to form the teeth correctly. Right, so and now it's time to attach all your parts. Now what you are also going to need to do is, with that spare sock, because of course you had to, or raid the sock bin again, you will need to make another insert, and that insert will be for the muzzle. And when measuring up for your muzzle, make sure that it fits the inside section nice and snugly, okay? You need it to go 4 rows down, so it needs to fit in there quite nice, like 4 rows round, maybe even 5, okay? And then that means it will sit nicely over the top of the sides. Right, now the placement of the items on this pillow will depend on the style that you have chosen for your clothes. So if you have chosen to add the button clothes, your button clothes will sit at the bottom. If you are choosing to use the join as you go method, and that will sit at the top because it will form a ridge, and you can then attach your ears and everything to the ridge. So if this is your first time round, I'd go for the join as you go method because then that gives you a really good visual aid as to where to put things. But as this is my second ginormous cushion, I'm going to go for the button insert. Right, so what you want to do is lay out your pillow cover, okay, placing either the area to the top or the bottom. So remember, if it's a join as you go method, that will be on the top and it will be those 3 there, okay? If it is the button method, it will be these 3 at the bottom, okay? So why I'm saying these 3 is when you look closely at your work, you will see that where you've increased as you go along, it creates little triangles in your work, okay? So we are working off of those triangles. So if I say 3, there's a block of 3 here where my join is. So it starts at it starts this side, and there's 1 block, 2 block, 3 block. And then that would be the same if you're working on the top section. There is 1 block, 2 block, 3 block. Now to add a little detail to your feet, take a scrap of black yarn, quite a decent length of scrap yarn though, and pop it through your hook. Now ideally you want to be, of course, using Aran weight yarn, but I haven't got any Aran in black, so I'm having to double up my DK yarn. Now when you look at your work, you have one side that is flatter than the other. That is the bottom of your foot. So for the top of the foot, we're going to give it a little squidge, and then you need to have a look and think, where do you want them toes to be formed? So we are going to pop our needle through the bottom of the foot and bring it up to where you want that first toe to be formed. Pull your yarn through. Okay, I like to leave a bit at the bottom for now so that I have some tension to work with. Right, now we are going to be working over our foot, so we need to find the corresponding stitch on the back side of your work. So it's 3 up ish. Poke your hook, your needle through, and then bring it back up in the same spot. Just like that. Okay, now I give mine a gentle tug, and I'll do it about another 2 to 3 times, just so it's sitting nice and tight. Not too tight, of course, you don't need it, so it's cutting off the circulation. And 3. Now I bring it out at the top left hand side or right hand side of all of those stitches. Pull it tight, then go back under, go over the top and then back in the stitch. Now this is where the stuffing sock, it comes into its own, because at this point you can go into your stuffing sock and then pull up your yarn, your needle, sorry, a couple of stitches over where you want the next toe to start from. And because you've done it in the stuffing sock, you're not going to see it through your work. Now again, and do the same amount of loop rounds as you did last time. So I've done 3. There's 1, 2 and 3. Go into the same spot, come out on the top of my work, over the stitch, through the sock, and then back down. Get a yarn down to the bottom of the foot again, through the sock. Yep. There we go, and pull it out the end. And that way he has got 3 little toesies already made up. And at this point you can cut off those ends. If you give it a gentle tug, cut them off, they will then move themselves up and into the sock. Now just repeat that for your other foot and meet me back here in a few moments. Now let's place those cheeky little feet on our cushion. So what we're going to do is we find the quarter that is down the bottom, ignore this middle bit, and we are going to sew our feet pointing upwards if you wish, or pointing outwards, or however you want to do it. But the feet will sit here and you want to start stitching just at the white edge, okay, and then stitch upwards, and don't go over to the pink bit, because the pink bit is the bit that goes around the cushion. Okay, so we're going to place that one there, and then we put the other one on, not this middle one, but the next square across, the next triangle across. So that's where you'll be sewing them on. Okay, I'm going to leave you to get on with that because it's easier for me to do off camera. So I will meet you back here shortly to put on the muzzle and the nose. So, and now your feet are on, it is time for your muzzle. Now don't forget, you need to make yourself a little stuffy sock or stuffy something to put into this section here. Right, so now it's time to make the stuffing sock for your muzzle. Make sure that when you do it, it is slightly smaller than the sides and not as deep. So ideally, when you place it over, it will sit something like this, and it will sit quite nice and snug inside, and there's going to be enough room then for you to splat it down and manipulate it so that the center stitch there will hopefully pull in together. Right, so once you've done that, come back to me and we'll move on to the next section. Right, so take in your stuffing sock and some leftover Aran weight yarn. We are going to guesstimate the center of our muzzle. Okay, we are just going to pop some yarn around and give it a tug. So hopefully both sides will be roughly the same size. You can measure it if you want, you don't have to, but right. And then we will loop our thread around a few more times, and then tie it off in whatever method you like to use. Okay. Right, once you have done that, we'll be placing that inside this and sewing it onto the front of our rabbit. Just give me a minute to tie my ends off. Right, so now for a little bit of detail. Now this little bit of detail we might as well pop on now. It is going to be the bit that goes from the nose down to the mouth. Okay, so it's that little black line that we normally see on cartoons and other items. So what I'm using is 2 strands of DK, but of course you can use your black Aran as well. I just don't have any. So what we're going to do is, of course, we have made that section there slightly inwards. All right, so we're going to pull our work all the way around so it sits quite nice and neatly. Okay, and then we are going to pop our needle through and pull it through the other side. You're going to have to go to one side or the other side of the yarn that you've previously used, otherwise it's going to get really awkward to get through, as I've just found out. Right, so now we'll pull up our yarn. Okay, leave a bit of a tail there so you can see what you're doing. What have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to now weave over the line of where we want that work to go. I am really cheeky with this. We're just going to sit it over the top of the stitches that are there. Okay, until you reach your bottom stitch there. Let's see how neat it looks, and if it doesn't look neat, I'll be taking it out and doing it again off camera. I hate sewing. Right, okay, so no, it doesn't look neat enough for me, but that gives you an idea. So I'm now going to unpick this and have another go. I will see you shortly for telling you how to attach it to the main cushion. Okay, so the way I finally did it was, because I'm running the 2 strands, I was able to attach this in one go. So I put my loop through both holes and then my working yarn went in through it and I closed it off that way, and now I am wrapping it round 4 times. Okay, now it is a case of just attaching it where I can hide it, and that's me done. I give up. I hate sewing, not doing it, not if I don't have to. Right, now for attaching our muzzle onto our rabbit. Right, so what you want to do is look for your placement here. You've got your starting circle. Okay, we are going to go 2 rows above the starting circle and place a stitch marker on the top of that second stitch. Okay, now that is where we are going to start sewing our nose in, but we'll put that on last because we can always move it up if we or move it over or whatever if our stitching's a little off ski. Sorry, a little bit wonky. Right, and we will then be attaching this guy using these stitches here to our blanket all the way, our cushion cover all the way round. Okay, just making sure that that stitch sits above, that stitch marker is sitting above where the gap in the nose is. Right, I'm going to head off camera and do that now because I can't do it on camera. I'm rubbish, and I will see you shortly. Right, so now you have your muzzle put on, we will be attaching a little pink nose to sit and just here. Okay, so you can either attach it to the back section or you can attach it to this piece here. The choice is entirely up to you. I'm now going to head off and attach it, and I'll be back with you shortly. Right, now it's time to attach your eyes, so make sure you've got your yarn on your darning hook. Now I'm not only am I doing this on my lap, but I'm actually doing this upside down for me, just so that I can get the eating shot. Right, so what you're going to need to do is just push that down so it's sitting up against the nose in this corner here, and this corner here you can slightly pull it round so that it sits on the edge. Now sew in, once you've aligned it up exactly where you want it, run your stitch up and around this section here, working through both parts of the cushion. It may be easier to take this your cushion insert out, but I've just put this in for now so that I can pin it on, and I know that once I remove the cushion insert it's where I want it to be. I didn't do that with the feet, hence why the feet are slightly wonky. Right, and then of course once you've done that one, pin the other one in the same place but on the opposite side, just like that. Okay, and then the last bit is the teeth. So what I'm going to do is I will show you how to do the teeth on camera once we've got these eyes done. So I'll see you shortly. Here's a quick sample of the stitch I like to use. So you go forward stitch, then you come back a stitch, hook both pieces of fabric, skip 2 stitches, pull your yarn up, okay, go back a stitch, go through both bits of fabric, bringing it up 2 stitches and pull up. Right, so now you have put on your eyes, it's a time to do the teeth. Now remember, with the teeth we have got this wibbly wobbly section here. Okay, that is the bottom of the teeth, and that wibbly wobbly section will point towards the feet. Now we're going to place our teeth on, and if you look, there is a line here between the 2 teeth, so try and centralize that with the line that you've got running over the muzzle. Okay, that way we know that our teeth are centered. Then it's a case of tacking it on, pinning it on so that you've got the right placement. I'm going to attempt this without pinning it on, which means I'll probably end up wonky, but hey, why not? Everything else on this is wonky. Right, so I grab your yarn and pull it up through that middle section there. Now I've double stranded my DK yarn, and just in case some of you are working with an Aran weight yarn, I understand this isn't slightly an Aran, it will turn out slightly thicker, but there we go. Right, now what we want to do is you want to run a line all the way around and up the middle. So the best way I've found to do this is to weave. So we're going to go in and out of our work, going up the teeth, and then in and out of our work, going back down, filling in the gaps as you go. That way it will hold it on for us, and it will make it easier for doing these outside sections. I'm going to do that off camera because, as you can see, this is very finicky and I have no room, and it's balanced on my lap and all the other reasons. So I will meet you back here once you have done that line and going up and down the center of the teeth. Right, so and now it's time to do this section here. Now what I suggest you do is the same method as you did with this one, which is the weaving, and you weave going down and up to the top of the tooth here, and then turn around and weave all the way back down to the middle, weave all the way along here, all the way up to the top where the muzzle is, and then weave all the way back down, and then when you get to the middle you can tie off. Now the reason I've said do that is because I think it looks a lot neater if you run a white stitch along this section underneath the muzzle. Right, so I'm going to head off and do that off camera, and I will see you back here shortly. Right, so and now you have completed the black. It's just a case of running a stitch all the way along the white section with a white thread to be able to then pull the teeth up and into place. I will meet you back here when you have finished. Now it's time to add the whiskers. So with the whiskers, what you want to do is place some black yarn on a darning needle. I'm going to be a bit cheeky here because I am going to double strand it as I'm using a DK, but if you've got an Aran, just stop. Right, isn't she starting to take shape? Now next thing up, I think we might as well just pop them ears on because we've got them sitting around, so we might as well do them now. I have actually put wire through mine because I decided once I got to this point she was far too cute and she's going to be sitting next to the unicorn on the bed. Right, so to work out the placement, what you want to do is look for your 3 triangles again. Okay, so it doesn't matter if you're working on the button close or the sewn close. What you're going to do is look for your 3 quarters. Your first ear will be put onto a 1/4, then you're going to skip a quarter, and then the second ear or the last ear will be put on the last quarter. That is it. Okay, so it will look something like this once completed. Now what I've actually done is I've put this over the sewn area, as you can see, the drop down section here. Now what I've done is I have attached the front part of the ear, so that's this section here. The front part has been attached to these front stitches here, and then the back part has been attached to the back stitches here. Okay, so I am attaching to the double crochets each side, but I'm only attaching it to the bottom half of each of those stitches. I hope that makes sense. Right, if you have any issues, pop it in the comments below and I'll get back to you as quick as I can. But other than that, I'm going to go and head off and sew on my other ear. I really want to see it finished. Now it's time to make those cute little whiskers. So what you need to do is grab some Aran weight yarn, pop it on a darning needle. If you don't have Aran weight in black, then use 2 strands of a DK. Okay, now what we're going to do is we are going to go from the underneath side of our work. Yep, let's be cheeky. Thread your darning needle through and out where you want your first whisker to go. There we go, just like that. Now taking your 3.5mm hook, what you're going to do is place your hook under the closest stitch to where it is and pull through a loop. Now chain up, let's go for 12. Now chain up 12. Once you've done that, pull up your yarn or pull your yarn through to make a knot. Place your yarn on your darning needle and then weave your yarn back in and out through your chain. Okay, try and hit each chain if you can, because that'll give it a bit more stability. All the way down to the bottom and pull through your remaining yarn. Might be here a while. Right, once you've done that, straighten it, pull up and release tension on it if you've over pulled, and there is your very first whisker. Now using your darning needle, tuck your yarn back in and through your sock, and then pull up your needle where you would like your second whisker to be. Right, so pull your yarn up and through where you want the next whisker to be, and repeat the same process. So that is hooking underneath the stitch, pulling up a loop, and then chaining 12. You can chain more or you can chain less, doesn't have to be too precise. And then weave down your work, and then work out your placement for the third chain by repeating the same steps. Once you've done that, hop over to the other side and do the same on the other side, and there you go, your whiskers will be done. I will meet you back here in a moment. Right, so there you go, you are all finished. Congratulations on making it to the end. I would absolutely adore some photographs of your rabbits. Now please remember, this is just my take on the rabbit. If you're not keen on the eyes, you can swap them out maybe for the unicorn style eyes, or a different eye that you prefer. And it's the same with any section of this rabbit. If it's something you're not keen on, swap it, change it. That's the whole fun of creating, isn't it? So I'm going to head off now and wait for those photographs to roll in so that I can show them on my next whips and bits. And right, so I will see you really soon. So if you can, stay in and definitely stay safe, and ta-ra for now everyone.